This is Notoriously Episcopalian. My name is Kelly Hudlow. This is a podcast of sermons and musings all about the Christian faith and especially about being an Episcopalian. This is a sermon offered on Wednesday in the 5th week of Lent, March 24th, 2021, at a service called Prophets and Praise, a Lenten prayer service in Linn Park in downtown Birmingham. The text for the sermon was Daniel chapter 3, verses 14 through 20 and 24 through 28, the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace.
Now, I think most of us probably remember old Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from Sunday school. Though maybe hearing it now, we realize that it's not quite a tale for children. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are the Hebrew children in Babylon, friends of Daniel, that refused to bow down to King Nebuchadnezzar's golden idol. They refused even as they watched all the government officials and all the peoples from the nations, rich and poor, stop what they were doing when they heard the music sound and bowed down to the idol that Nebuchadnezzar had built. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego watched this, and they just simply said no. Even when Nebuchadnezzar was in a furious rage and threatened them with being thrown into a fiery furnace, when they heard the music sound, they refused to bow down. And so the king kept his promise. He told his men to make that furnace 7 times hotter than it normally would be, and told his strongest policemen to arrest and to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They didn't even take time to remove their clothes or look through for their valuables to take it from them. They just pitched them straight into the furnace, the whole kit and caboodle, and it was so hot that the poor guards whose job it was to toss them in were killed in the process. So Nebuchadnezzar stood there, satisfied that the problem of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had now been solved, and he watched. And then soon he was shocked, because instead of watching the flames go higher, he looks in and sees Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego unbound and walking around in the flames. Not a hair on their head was burnt. And then there was the most amazing thing that Nebuchadnezzar saw, is that there were not just 3 men in the flames, but there was 4. The flames that was there with them in the flames was Shadrach, certainly, and Meshach, and Abednego, unburnt, unbent, and in the presence of God. The kings of our present age have built not just one idol, but many. We have idols to power, to wealth, to technology, to possessions, to violence, to white supremacy. And it seems that the music that they play never stops sounding. And so we find ourselves pulled into a never-ending cycle of bowing down to the idols of this age. We are stuck in a game of musical chairs, except instead of taking away a chair, they add yet another idol that must be worshipped. So we are called to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to say, we are not going to dance to your tune. We will not bow down even when you're mad, even when you threaten us with violence or exclusion or call us names. When the music sounds that you're playing, we will not bow down. For a lot of us, we probably feel like we're already in the fiery furnace and that it is getting hotter and hotter. This pandemic has shined a light on the racial and class disparities in our health care, in our education, in wealth, in housing, and child care, unemployment. How much hotter could it get? Years of police violence caught on tape, a summer of protest, a violent insurrection, union busting in Bessemer, a mass shooting in a grocery store in Boulder, racist and misogynistic murder of Asian American women in Atlanta by a man brought up in a Christian faith that built an idol to sexual purity. How much hotter can it get? The temptation is that we just lay down in the flames and be consumed, or that we just give up and beg to be let out and find the first idol we can and bow down. But we've got to listen to the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It is the world that calls us to dance with the devil of injustice and oppression. It is the world that binds our hands and throws us away. But it is the fire that unbinds us. Now, here in the Magic City, we know a thing or two about the transformative power of fiery furnaces. It was not that long ago that you could watch molten iron be poured out and transformed into steel. We could watch as the impurities of the metal that made it brittle was burned away. We could watch as carbon was infused to the metal to make it strong. What went into the furnace was brittle and weak. What was emerged was what was strong enough to build cities in this nation. We may be in the fire now. White, Black, Asian, Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Indigenous, women, men, LGBTQ+, rich, poor, able-bodied, disabled, where the intersectionality of our oppression can be forged into the interlocking arms of our liberation. We are in the fire now, where our brittleness can be forged into strength. When we emerge like steel and can be honed to a sharp edge to cut through lies, or we can be the strong framework on which our communities are rebuilt. It was the faith and the resistance of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that changed Nebuchadnezzar and his court. And together, it is our faith and resistance that can change the world. It is our faith that lets us walk through fire, knowing that we shall not be burned and the flames shall not consume us. And it is through the fire of resistance that we are unbound and transformed. And we may be in the fire now, but we are not alone. We walk together in the flames, and God walks with us. Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah. What a word. Thank you.
Glory to God.
Hallelujah. Glory.
Hallelujah. Amen and amen. What a powerful word.
Amen.